Habits. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 400 of Picks and Ponies, right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. What a proud moment as we hit episode 400 on our main show. Of course, we've done many other shows with Horsing Around and Benton and Boozin' and Pacific Horse Players and all the wonderful shows on our network. But our main show, Picks and Ponies, episode 400. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much as we are here to cover Louisiana Derby Day, one of our favorite cards of the year in New Orleans at the fairgrounds. We are primed and ready to go for the major 100-point to the winner Kentucky Derby preps. It is going to be an amazing next 3 weeks right here on the HHH Racing Podcast as we lead up to the 151st running of the Run for the Roses, the Kentucky Derby. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are literally like 25 subscribers away. We are so close to 5,000 subscribers. Please tell your friends, neighbors, coworkers, go on the HHH Racing Podcast, support us greatly. One of those ways you can do that is by hitting that subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well in the top right-hand corner on YouTube, and smash that like button. We'd also love to hear your comments below the video player as well once this is up on YouTube. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Power Pick Tip Sheet. Wow, we have some very exciting announcements, which I'm going to hold off a little bit until the middle of the show. But our Power Pick Tip Sheet is going very well. Look below the video player for information on it. You sign up through Patreon.com. We had several people sign up actually today for the Power Pick Tip Sheet. We've got a great website that also has information about the tip sheet, but so much more on our wonderful website. Check it out, hhhracingpodcast.com. And I also want to mention two syndicates. First of all, we are sponsored by Delphi Racing, who had a winner last week for yours truly with the Horsing and Twirling Beauty, who won an Aqueduct at 9-2. First-time starter. Went really quick early. Held on in a main special weight. Congratulations to all my fellow partners from Adelphi Racing. Get in touch with them by getting in contact with Matt Cuter, racing manager. You can see on the bottom of the screen, matt@adelphi.com is his email, or just go to adelphiracing.com. And also, now is a perfect time to bring up a comment in the chat, because just a few minutes ago, literally, as we're filming here live Thursday night, Paul Conlon says, Howard, thank you for introducing me to Crownsway Racing. Best investment I've ever made. Whoa, my racehorse who? I'll tell you what, Crownsway Racing has been on a roll. Not only did partner Dan Piazza win the NHC last weekend in Las Vegas, which I'll talk about very briefly, but literally 15 minutes ago, a horse named Mucci's Revenge just won a starter allowance 50 at Turfway for yours truly and Crownsway Racing. And I believe also, I'm not sure if Pete Visco and Paul Heller are involved in that horse. I think they're only involved with Shards at this point. But anyway, Mucci's Revenge just won by like 6 lengths over a 1-2 Brad Cox horse in 111 and change. I'll tell you what, congratulations to Tony Rollo. Crownsway Racing is on an absolute roll. You can get in touch with them as well. All right, let me go ahead and bring on my fantastic co-hosts. We haven't been together in 2 weeks for various reasons. So let me bring them on right now. First, from the East Coast of Maryland, who did a great job subbing in for me last week with the Power Picks and hosting, Mr. Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and a fan of the, $6 billion worth, I believe now, Boston Celtics, Mr. Paul Halloran. Gentlemen, the gang is back for episode 400. It feels like episode 2. How are we doing tonight?
What's up, gents? Well, we're glad it's not episode 2, because then Paul and I wouldn't have been on, so
True.
it wouldn't have been nearly as good of a show.
Correct.
But so 400 is awesome.
I think
If we sold a few more power picks, I could have bought the Celtics.
A few more. What'd you think of the ownership group, Paul? You happy with who they chose?
Funny, I don't know the guy, Pete, but the guy grew up about 20 minutes from me, Georgetown, Mass, which is about 20
Nice.
north of me. So, yeah.
Okay, very good.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of money considering they don't own the building.
Yeah.
Sure is. We're also filming live during the some event. I think like it's called the NCAA. I don't know. It's some event going on, but I mean, I don't even know why you'd be paying attention to that when we've got big stuff to talk about here, guys, with a huge card at the fairgrounds this Saturday. Gentlemen, the next few weeks are huge. Let's just face it. We got 6 weeks of the Derby. It's sneaking up on us. Major Derby preps. Every Derby prep now going forward, starting this Saturday, it's going to be 100 to the winner, 50 to second, 25 to third, 15 to fourth, 10 to fifth. Yes, I got it all memorized. Basically, guys, if you come first or second, you're in the Derby, Pete. These races are an absolute must watch if you plan on betting and watching the Derby. And who the hell isn't?
Yeah, if you're watching this show, I assume you're pretty excited for that. And just for a shameless plug to the website, for the Derby and the Oaks, we have a page where all the preps are on the page. We have a page for the Derby, the page for the Oaks, where you could see every prep all in one spot. So there's video and you could see who the winner was, where it was. So you don't have to go searching YouTube or TVG or whatever other site you'd like to use. We try and help your handicapping as much as possible.
That's awesome. We appreciate that, Pete. Paul, real quick, anything you're looking for in general or every year, what do you look for in these late Derby preps? You want to see improvement with the buyers? You want to see a wow performance? I mean, is there anything in particular in your years of covering horse racing you want to see in particular in the last Derby prep?
Well, I think what's interesting, and as we talk about this one, how it is, it's always interesting when they stretch out. And Fairgrounds, of course, has gone to this mile and 3/16 setup the last few years for their Louisiana Derby. So, look at you're going to have 20 in the gate who haven't run a mile and a quarter on the first Saturday in May. So it's a lot of speculation. Of course, we always watch the gallop out because that's really, there's nothing more important than that. Pete, I was laughing. I should have texted you. I was watching a few replays as I was getting ready for tonight's show yesterday, and I actually did say, geez, I want to watch the gallop out.
I have two horses tonight.
And oh, God, he's infected my mind.
I have two horses tonight where in my notes is galloped out well or something. So, yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
I finally convinced them. I
took
did
400. It took 400 shows, but we finally like the gallop out.
And yeah, I'm happy to hear the news this week that my friend East Avenue is going to get one more chance in the Bluegrass.
Yes.
I heard that the other night, and then I saw it was online yesterday, I guess, or the day before. I heard it the night before it was online, and that's yeah, they. We're not going to get bogged down on one horse, but I'm interested in them, so we'll get bogged down a little. They just looked them over head to toe and couldn't come up with an excuse for that Risen Star. So either he's just not that good, or you throw out the race, and we'll see. He's running well at Keeneland, and as you said, Uncle, if he can run first or second, that will punch his ticket across state, which would interest me.
Maybe they try putting him on the lead this time, Paul. See how that works.
Yeah, well, that race, Pete, was, I don't know if it was a one-off. Unfortunately, Magnitude got hurt. Maybe ran too fast for his own good. But, I don't think anyone expected Magnitude to go like that and keep going. So it was odd in that regard. And we'll talk about, I think, the horses who ran second and third later in the show.
Yep.
We will. Ed Burke, I just showed it on the bottom of the screen as a future on Chunk of Gold. This is also the time, if you got a future on any of these horses, literally any of these horses in the Derby or in these preps, you got a shot to get in. So this is a very exciting time for everyone. Save the Clock Tower. Love that name, by the way, is here. Perhaps he's a fan of Back to the Future movies. Anyway, Sierra Leone, Free Square, So's Good Cheer, Better Catch a Price than other legs, or up the dollar denomination of your pick fives. Pete says, no bueno. Wait a minute. You could be wrong about that. We will talk about that. Guys, here it is. My only comment of the night in terms of weather. It is going to be gorgeous in New Orleans. How about that? This Saturday. Now let's see
Yeah,
a surprise
Paul,
tornado
that
or
one,
something
Paul, we
coming.
could do another 400 shows, and I'm not going to give a crap about the weather still. So,
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Last thing before we get started, I just want to give thanks again because you guys have not been on since I've said the following statement, which is I want to give a lot of thanks to everyone at the NHC. It was awesome. We saw a lot of people, guys. A lot of fans came up. Our family is growing. We had Matt Miller was out there. Kyle Roscoe was out there, Jackson Muniz, Ryan Anderson, Noah Maher. Of course, easy for the West Coast guys to get out to Vegas, but it was just a lot of fun. We were racing. Don Wynn was at our table. Chris Couples was right next to us. I mean, I mean, I know I'm going to miss a lot of people in what I'm going to say, but anyway, thank you everyone out there who supported us at the NHC. I went through on Monday. I went through the show. I had a really heartbreaking defeat, not to cash. It was sort of crazy, but had a good betting weekend anyway. Just had a rough last 45 minutes with the NHC and scenario, but I'll be back again, I hope. And gentlemen, I hope you'll be back. Or Paul, I hope you'll be back. And Pete, if you have the desire to qualify at some point, we hope to see you out there. It's really quite the scene. All right, guys, let's get into it. We're going to talk more about the power picks as well later in the show because, as you guys know, we have some very exciting announcements about our power pick tip sheets going forward. But right now, guys, let's get into fairgrounds. Fairgrounds, Saturday. It's going to be a huge day with big stakes and big fields. We're going to cover the late pick 5 tonight, and the late pick 5 starts at approximately, as you can see on the top of the screen, 3:32 Central. That'll be 4:32 Eastern. In race 8, it's the Tom Benson Memorial. 150K is the purse. They're on the turf for the older fillies and mares. Mile to 16th. One of the more wide open fields, guys, I think, of the sequence. In fact, I think you can argue it's the toughest one of the sequence. And it feels like we say that every year about this particular race. This older filly and mare turf race is always a serious challenge. Field of 12 here, gentlemen, to open up the pick 5. Let's get right into it. I'm going to go 4-1-12. Pete's going to go 4-1-3. Wow. And Paul's going 1-3-13. Paul, we're going to go with you first since you are slightly different than everyone else here. Plus, we missed you, my friend, of course, on what was it last week? You were with Pete last week, right? We missed you.
no, me and you did Colonial last
Oh,
week, Howard.
Colonial. I had said
Yeah, I haven't
okay.
seen Paul in 2 weeks.
My
Or
bad.
we
All right.
haven't. Yes.
Paul, I heard you like to have fun with flags. That's what I hear. Chad, Flavian, that's a combination that's going to take some money. Interesting Irish spread. What say you about your hopeful winner here, Fun with Flags, 9-2 morning line?
Yeah, probably take too much money for my own liking, but this is one of those horses that it looks like was sent over to America for that Belmont Oaks with the intention of staying with Chad after the race. Horse did not take any money, which is never a good sign, and ran accordingly. It was a very deep field with Cinderella's Dream winning, and She Feels Pretty running third. I just figured, assuming that this horse went to Chad right after that race, you're talking 8 or 9 months now. Horse has been working steadily. He's been with Chad in Florida, has put in 5, 6, or 7 works. You get Pratt, you get the post, and as you said, Uncle, a really wide open race. So I'd certainly take the 9-2. I don't love going from 27-1 down to 9-2. First time Lasix, which isn't going to hurt. Of course, in Louisiana, there are no rules. You can take fentanyl, you can take Lasix, you can take whatever you want because they don't follow HISA, but that's another story for another day. So yeah, I'm going to say that this horse is going to show market improvement with Mr. Brown and Mr. Pratt.
A little information on Fun with Flags. I actually came to Chad in the winter, Paul. I don't know what month it was, but actually was not automatically transferred over to Chad, although I would assume that was originally the plan. I'm not sure. That race at the Belmont Oaks, she was coming basically right off the plane. She hadn't been in the United States very long at all, basically just shipped in for the race. Loomed up when I was going to show the replay, loomed up on the far turn, and I was like,
Yeah.
and then really flattened out. I mean, to the extent that you'd have to think something just was amiss
Yeah.
or whatever, because boy, she was very good at Saint-Cloud in France, and ran very well there. So yeah, I'm interested in her. I've got her second. Pete's got her second. We'll see what kind of trip. She's sort of the mystery horse in this race. She could run huge. She also could be take a lot of money and sort of fall on her face a little bit. So I'm going to tread lightly with her, but I am going to be using her as one of my likely winners.
The weird thing,
Pete.
real quick, the weird thing about her, she had all 4 of her French races were either on the soft or heavy, so very,
True.
very much cut in the ground. And then she had the one race on the firm. And again,
Yep.
we don't think that was the reason, but what if for some reason she likes a little bit of cut and maybe doesn't take as much to the firm like we hope happens when some of these horses come over? You just don't, I have no idea. I'm not really saying one way or the other. It's just you don't know.
No, you don't know, but to me, if they're over here, they want it more firm.
You would think,
they know,
right? Yeah,
they know
you would
eventually they're going to get firm turf at some
Yeah,
point, right?
you would
So,
think. Yeah,
first time Lasix, by the way, for this horse as well, Pete. Just want to throw that out to you because I know you're
it is.
very
It
in
is
tune to
first
that.
time.
That might move her up. Who knows?
All right, Chad Brown, 4 for 11 wins, first after a trainer switch, along with putting Lasix on for the first time. So
good,
4 for 11,
stat.
8 for 11 in the money. Yeah,
Good stat. Tufani, Pete. This is a very likable sort. I've talked about Michael Stidham on this show quite a bit. He's 21% at the fairgrounds this year. Does a really solid job. Ben Curtis knows her very well. I thought she ran just fine last time. I mean, it was off a long layoff. She probably needed one. She's only 5. She's awfully consistent. There's enough early speed, I think, to set up for her. I don't think she's going to like blow away this field or, overwhelm this field, but she's very likable to me. And I think we're going to get an okay price here. Obviously, you and I agree with Tufani, the number 4.
Yeah, there was one little tidbit that I kind of liked. If you go even back to her second start of her life, and then the other 2 times she's had layoffs where she ran more than one time after the layoff, she won both efforts second time off. So now we're getting second time off. And like you said, she ran okay. She was off, what is that? Whatever October to February turns out to be, 4 months or so. She ran okay. But if she sticks to her history, maybe second off is really what she likes, and she'll be a lot sharper. So I like that. The only thing I was a little concerned about for the generally in like open stakes races, she hasn't been as great. But again, I don't think there's really, unless the one all of a sudden turns the corner and becomes a real classic Chad Brown horse, I don't think there's like any super top end horses in this field. So I think she has the opportunity to sort of turn around sort of that stakes luck that she's had. And again, yeah, you're showing the pace there. It doesn't project to be a hot pace or anything, but there's enough horses who are going to be forward to where I think it'll be honest enough. And I think she can sit sort of that mid-pack trip. I mean, she's way off the screen on there, but I'm hoping more if it's not super fast and they don't run away from her, she's a little bit closer than that.
I agree. I don't think she's going to be that far back. We'll just mention 1 or 2 others here, and then we'll move on. I didn't know what to do with Way to Be Marie. You've got this horse second, Paul. She's run some big races. She's a little bit inconsistent. I'm not sure why I don't love her more than I do because she's got 289s. It's weird because by the buyer figs, not only is she fit, but she's like a likely winner almost. But none of us have her in the top 2. Why is that? It is Bobby LaPenta and Matacat. By the way, Matacat also is the 1. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think this horse has a little horse for course in her.
No doubt.
4 perfect on the board at fairgrounds. Does have trouble closing the deal. Twice as many seconds as wins and twice as many seconds as thirds. So, that's a factor. But it's going to be interesting to see how the race plays out because the 2 looks pretty fast inside of her. And with these 2 next to each other, I seem to be questioning time form a lot, and they know more than I do. But first, there's no way the one's going to be that far back with Pratt, by the way. based on the way she ran last time. But I think with the 2 and 3 next to each other, I agree with Pete. I think you might get a pace that's okay
Yeah.
here.
There's other interesting ones. Amber Cascade, first time turf for Cherie with IRAD. I mean, there's a little bit of turf breeding, not a lot, but I mean, just interesting from that standpoint. There's also speed on the outside, guys, with Destor Dioro, the 9. Wildbot Hillary, assuming she goes, she's going to show speed. Eastern Empress for Clement, I don't think is completely impossible. And then there's 2 horses on the very outside we'll mention quickly. I've got Stir Crazy, guys, the number 12 at 8-1 in third. She's got back numbers that absolutely fit. Just toss out last time. She didn't break well. She was in the 11 hole. I know she's wide today again, but I'm sure Maker's got her ready. I don't think Stir Crazy number 12 is impossible. And then number 13, who you guys know, we've mentioned on this show, finally gets the turf, Paul, and she's going to be a monster price. I mean, in Brazil, she was fantastic. I have no idea how she'll run here Saturday, but I mean, if she wins, I would not be shocked. I'm using Champagne Rose in the pick 5, Paul.
Oh, absolutely. I think this horse is you got to look at. You'll see in my play later on. 4 for 5 in Brazil, and the one loss was on heavy turf. Okay, good is good is about as close as they're going to get to firm. 4 for 4 otherwise over there, and tried to run on turf in the first start here. It got rained off, and they probably just wanted to get the run in her, and not really sure about the move to Oaklawn on dirt, but didn't lift a hoof, but still hasn't run on turf over here. Has 4 siblings who have won on turf. And, it's the McPeak Hernandez combo. The horse is going to be all of the 20-1. I am all in to try to have this horse get a piece of it.
I think so too. There's a little bit of negativity in the chat about, playing the sequence. Look, you can play any sequence you want. You don't have to play the pick 5. I personally don't think it's guaranteed that Sierra Leone and Good Cheer are both going to win on Saturday. I don't know how you guys feel about that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but okay, even if you like favorites more, fine. Play $8 pick 5 for $5 and hit 10 times, and you still get your 200-300 whatever. So I mean, there's different ways to skin a cat, so to speak here, Pete. But to me, this is an absolutely spread race of the pick 5. I might spread and toss like the favorite once we see the odds. Like I might toss the top 2 favorites and just play a lot of others and hope that I get a price. That's the way I'm leaning. We don't talk about pick 5 as much tickets on the show, but any thoughts on that idea, Pete, or in general?
No, I agree with both ideas you had, and I do think the first leg, the third leg. I mean, the third leg maybe could be a little chalky, but the first leg, the third leg, and definitely, I thought the last leg was the hardest. So I thought the last leg you could definitely get a price. So again, yeah, maybe it's not going to pay $5,000 or $3,000, but if it pays a few hundred and you hit it multiple times for cheaper, you can make money. You can make money. You just have to be. You can't spread. If you think Sierra Leone and Good Cheer are going to win, single them both, and then cheapen your ticket up. Go a little deeper in the other legs. Make sure you have a couple prices, and then just play them for higher denominations. There's always ways to make money.
I heard people chirping about that in the Virginia Derby pick 4 last week. And getaway car and that Supreme Law is going to win. It's going to pay nothing. Sure enough, they both lose. The pick 4 paid like $250, including. I'll just toot my own horn for a second because once in a while I have to do that. With rendered judgment, I bombed there coming in second. I know it was a distant second, but who cares? It was a nice exacta and try and then one of the horses we we touted, nothing special. The filly, you end up going off very short because of the scratches. But the filly in the Virginia Oaks won, and it still paid $245. I mean, so again, these sequences can pay. Let's go on to the next one, guys. And oh boy, here we go. Will Howard, this is one of the questions of the night. Is Howard picking Sierra Leone? I had a very tough time, to be very honest. Whether to decide to pick him on top or not. We'll talk about it right now. But here's the race. It is race 9. It's the return of Sierra Leone, the New Orleans Classic. Guys, it's a $500,000 dirt race for the older males, 1.125 miles. We do have a lot of things to talk about here. You see a field of 10, ladies and gentlemen. It is not going to be I repeat, it is not going to be a field of 10. That is almost 100% confirmed. The number 1 Kinetic is supposedly going to be scratched. The number 5 Touch Upon a Star is a question mark. The number 6 is going to be scratched. Uno Mas Bourbon. I gotta be honest, guys. I was fascinated with him underneath. I'm a little upset that he's not running. The number 8 Tarantino supposedly is not coming in from the West Coast, and the number 10 Bishop's Bay is a question mark. So, guys, what it looks like here is a field of 7, most likely. Could be as small as 5. That would be a bit of a bummer. You see Sierra Leone, heavy morning line favorite at 7-5. Let's see who we're going with here. Look, we'll talk about it. I went 7-9-2. Pete said no bueno, Sierra. I'm going 2-7-10, and Paul is going 7-2-6. Pete, the obvious 2 likely winners here are Hall of Fame and Sierra Leone. If you don't like Sierra Leone, you're defaulting to a horse for Asmussen that is getting really good right now, and I sure as hell would not be surprised if Hall of Fame wins this race. It says 4-1. It's not going to be. Hall of Fame's going to be 9-5, and Sierra Leone 3-5 is sort of what I see. Paul's shaking his head with a likely yes. Pete, talk about Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, that 4-1 is a pipe dream. It would be lovely. This is just more of a, you hope Sierra Leone's a little bit short and has too much to do, and Hall of Fame is tactical enough to where he could sit up close. He can get sort of a similar trip to last time, sit close, get the jump on Sierra Leone, and is good and talented enough and still lightly raced enough to where we assume there's upside here. And I know Paul likes to complain about fairgrounds and not following HISA, but the thing that I like about that is Hall of Fame is 4 for 4 with Lasix and gets the benefit of Lasix here because we are at the fairgrounds. So I enjoy that as well. So if this horse keeps moving forward, Sierra Leone is a little bit short or just is a little too far back and they don't go very fast. I guess with the small field, that could be, maybe wouldn't be able to worry about traffic or anything and should get a clean run. But I think Hall of Fame at least gets the jump and will have the lead in the lane. And we just see if Sierra Leone runs him down, which will be the most likely scenario, but I'll take the shot and try and beat him.
Well, there's no doubt that Hall of Fame is going to be ahead of Sierra Leone at the top of the stretch, and you could argue mid-stretch he could be in the lead also. But then,
yeah, I mean, he could be until the final 16th at least, and then Sierra Leone catches him late.
Yeah, now there is the scratches definitely help Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, it hurts your price, but it does help Hall of Fame from a tackle standpoint. Paul, let me talk a little about Sierra Leone, and I'll let you jump in. So we all know about this horse, obviously. Let me give people a few tidbits from Chad Brown. First of all, if you don't know, the plan was to go to the Middle East, into either Saudi or Dubai. Had a minor, let me stress, minor foot issue, and he just wasn't ready. He missed some training. If you look carefully at his training, he was training steadily, but there was a break from the 26th of January to the 15th of February. So I had a few weeks off there, nothing major, but just enough at a bad time to take him out of the mix in the Middle East. This was the next logical spot. He's training well, guys. I've seen him train on TV. Don't get disheartened by the 49 change. Payson's a very deep track. He was running those times approximately, in his 3-year-old year, getting ready for the Derby, maybe slightly quicker. He's been working well. He worked with Spirit of St. Louis, who obviously is a turf horse, but he outworked him. He outworked a nice horse called Unlimited Potential, who you guys might remember was a nice 3-year-old last year. He looks very professional, guys. There's less paddling going on to me. Chad said he's ready, Paul. So I'm not going to doubt Chad, but even though the gun runners improve, Paul, as they get older, which is one of the reasons I have Sierra on top, it's hard for me, or I would assume you, to believe he's going to run a high 100s buyer. This is just the beginning. I think it's more likely he runs a 103, 104, but I think we would both agree that's going to be good enough to win here. So even if he runs his B plus race, he can win on Saturday. I don't mean to take the words out of your mouth, but those are my overall thoughts.
Yeah, I think you make a good point in the scratches, though. When I looked at the race and, you're trying to figure out a way to beat him, I just couldn't get around the fact that he was going to get an absolute perfect setup. But now, with the 8 out, with the 10 possibly coming out, I'm not so sure Maycox Bay is going to be in, Howard. Maycox Bay is cross-entered at Oaklawn,
Right.
and I thought I heard some speculation on Steve Bick's show today or yesterday that Maycox Bay may not be in. So that would be another pace horse, and
Wow.
the one
Okay.
Kinetic who is going to Oaklawn. So
Right.
if the complexion of the race changes, and I took a long look at the 2, and the reason I didn't land on the 2 was because of how fast I thought the race was going to be. Well, it might not be that fast all of a sudden, but I do agree. I think he's best, and I do think he'll get better as the year goes on. I don't think he will or needs to run that 112.
No.
He did run, he ran that monster risen style last year, which got us all excited for the next couple of months. I think we liked that performance in the risen style, which he backed up with the bluegrass, and so again, the race complexion is a lot different, and I think if you're inclined to beat him, as you said, your odds won't be as good, but your chances are much better with these scratches.
Yeah, I'm not singling him. I love the horse. Hobby. He's horse of the year. I mean, blah blah blah. I'm gonna use the 2. I'm also gonna use Corombino Amede, guys, the number 9, the Japanese horse. I've had mixed feelings about him. I'll tell you what, I'm not sure he's getting the respect he deserves, guys. He's pretty damn good, and he takes the blinkers off, which I find interesting. Maybe they're just looking for him to get a little more of a closing kick, guys, late, because he's worn blinkers most of his career. But he was just right there to Hall of Fame. And it was a heartbreaking loss. My only concern with the 9 is the distance. Maybe he's better at a mile 16th. But now with the speed out guys, he projects to be stalking from the outside. I'm assuming right off a Hall of Fame, you would guess, and get the first run on Sierra Leone if Hall of Fame falters a little bit. And so I don't know. I don't think Corombino Amede is impossible. You guys have some other ones in the mix, Paul. Like I said, I thought the 6 was fascinating. If he was in, he's not. There's much less speed in there, so there's really not much else to talk about in the race, guys. It's just I think if you're a fan, excuse me, if you're a fan of Sierra Leone, you want to see him come back healthy and run well. He's going to make a run in the stretch. Will it be good enough? I don't know. He's certainly not going to be cranked for this guy. So maybe today is the day to beat him on Saturday. I think that pretty much sums that up. Yep. Let's go on to the next race. This race, despite our good friend and new co-host Jackson Muniz, it is not named after Jackson Muniz, but the next race is the Muniz Memorial Classic, sponsored by Horse Racing Nation. It is a grade 2. It is at 5:36 Eastern, race 10, big field on the turf, mile and eighth. You see it right there. Morning favorite is the number 6, the Pegasus Turf winner, Spirit of St. Louis, the very likable 6-year-old New York bred gelding. Chad's got 2 in here. He's got Spirit of St. Louis. He's also got the number 5, Redistricting, who closed like a banshee in San Diego at Del Mar last time in November. That one is for Pratt. You got Rebel Red for Cherie DeVoe, the number 7 at 4-1 morning line. You also have another Cherie at 5-1. Brilliant Birdie. I also have information on some of these horses as well that we will talk about. Here we go. I am going. Oh, look at my friend Paul. Look. Paul and Pete, this is the first time they're seeing this, in case you didn't know that. Paul, I'm going 7.65. Pete's going 5.63. And Paul's also going with our friend Cherie. 7.68 for Paul. Pete, you're going to go with the other Chad. Boy, you seem to do that a lot. I got to tell you, you seem to be very successful on the show, picking the other Chad, the most famous one, of course, being, who was it, Pete? Keelan. Remember the horse?
Butte Cachet. Yes.
Butte
Butte
Cachet.
Yeah.
Yes. This one's not going to be quite the price of that one. Redistricting, Flavian, 9-2. Talk about the 5 in this race, Pete.
Yeah, I was going to say it's nice when you have the other Chad, but you get Pratt up. So I'm not going to complain about that one. This is another one similar. I think Spirit of St. Louis is obviously more accomplished than redistricting, but this is one that, so we're newly turned 5, but again, really lightly raced, only 6 races, 2 nice seconds back as a 4-year-old in 2024. And I just think has a pretty big late kick, and I think could move forward. And so if you get to move forward, now you're talking about a horse that is on par with, say, Spirit of St. Louis, and is maybe just as talented, just hasn't been able to show it just yet. And I think the only problem is there's not a ton of pace projected, at least from a time form standpoint. But at least redistricting does have some races on his sheet where he is tactical. He is a little closer. Last time was not one of them in the Seabiscuit. He was way, way back and dead last for most of it and still was flying late. But I'm hoping that that's not the case. And Pratt, that's not really Pratt's style. Pratt's usually better at getting a horse into the race earlier. So I'm hoping this one's a little closer. And I think just the move forward for like a lightly raced, newly turned 5-year-old.
This close, I mean, wow.
Was
It
rolling.
was weird.
Yeah, it was rolling.
Weird that he was that far back. We lost to a real nice one, Mi Hermano Ramon. So I hear you, Pete. I've got him in the mix. Reading some articles and just listening to Chad's vibe, I get the feeling he might need one. I could be wrong. But I don't know. I'm very curious to see how this horse runs. He's very talented. I think he's gonna have a big year, Pete. There's no doubt about it. I just not 100% sure that Saturday's gonna be the day, but you're gonna get a little bit of a price.
But
So,
that's why I think you hope it comes
right,
here, because
no
if he
doubt.
runs well here, you're never getting the price again.
I
So if
agree.
you can get a little bit of a price here, and Spirit of St. Louis is really good, as you guys are going to talk about, but he's not great. Like, he's not unbeatable.
No,
He actually is pretty great. I mean, he's 13 out of 14 to the top 2, but I don't look at him as like, oh man, there's no way to beat that horse.
he's no
So I
bricks
think
no bricks and mortar. He's
no, I don't put him on that level or anything.
no. I would assume if redistricting runs well, Chad's going to consider him for the Old Forester, which is the $1 million turf race on Churchill, on Derby weekend. We'll have to see. I want to make one comment from Racing Downwind about the last race we talked about. Could Touch Upon a Star wire the field if he runs? Dave, it's horse racing. I say no. I don't. Hall of Fame won't be that far off of Touch Upon a Star, guys. He's a really good Louisiana bred. I personally don't see it. Any real quick thoughts on the 5 wiring in the last race, guys?
Yeah, I think there's 2 horses that are gonna, like the Japanese horse as well. I think will be another one that they're gonna challenge him. So they're not gonna let a horse get away, and it'll just be the point of whether they get run down.
Rebel Red, Paul. Cherie DeVoe. First of all, she said Rebel Red might want a little bit longer, and his best race was last time going a mile and 3/8. But I mean, he ran perfectly fine at this mile 8 distance before. I think Cherie's going to try to stretch him out, Paul, this year after this race into like the classic mile and a quarter distances, the Manhattan, the blah, 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 some of those big races. She said in an article that number 8 Brilliant Birdie is the one that she's going to point to the $1 million Old Forester turf on Derby Day. Let me make sure I'm clear, if the number 8 steps up in class and runs well on Saturday. So she's not pointing Rebel Red to the $1 million Churchill race, but that's not a negative to me, Paul. She knows the horse better than I. This horse got really good at the end of last year. I mean, really good. The Bernard Baruch 3-back was a slow paced race. It was a little bit weird. He ran just fine. 2-back at Keeneland, I thought he was super duper impressive. I know it was an allowance race, but completely blew by the field. And then last time showed more tactical speed and ran against Limited Liability, who pressed him the whole way. And Integrations came over the top, who would be Integration would be, I don't know what, 4 to 5 in this spot. So I think Rebel Red is getting really good. I'm not concerned about the layoff at all, Paul, with Cherie. And I think Rebel Red's right for a big year too. Am I worried about the distance? Not really. I think he's very likable. And if we get 3 to 1, I'd be very excited.
I think it's a very interesting race. This is my favorite race in the sequence. The subplot of the 2 Chads next to the 2 Cheries is terrific. I think both Spirit of St. Louis and Rebel Red maybe ran a little atypically last time as far as race flow. I did not expect Spirit of St. Louis to be that far back. And I just think Rebel Red kind of inherited the lead in this Aqueduct race, Howard. I don't think there was any, any master plan. We're picking up coming into the stretch now where he's running, but I don't think there was any big plan that had to go the lead. And look at sticks around, runs third. He's going to get caught by this horse, and you're going to see Integration is making up a lot of ground in a hurry. And as you say, Integration's a really good horse. Just gets nailed for third, but second rather misses second by a neck. I think that this horse has a chance to have race flow in his favor. Cherie coming off this type of layoff, 120 to 180 in graded stakes, small sample, 1 for 6. I'm with you, Howard. I'm not that concerned about the less distance. I think the horse might have some punch. Spirit of St. Louis is a tough customer. I just cast my vote today. I think I could say it since I submitted as New York Bred Horse of the Year.
Wow.
I do vote on the New York Bred Awards, and was happy to cast my vote for this. Wasn't that difficult to do if you look at these running lines. So yeah, I think you're going to get better value on Rebel Red. And I just love the subplot of the two Cheries against the two Chads.
Thank you, Felipe Jr. Hernandez, or Hernandez Jr., I'm assuming. I'm taking notes. This chat is giving me winners. Well, that's the idea. We appreciate that. Look who's also here. We haven't seen him in a while in the chat. Brad Anderson. What's up, Brad, my friend? Late to the show, but had joined for a quick congratulations for Picks and Ponies Show 400. Awesome milestone. And no surprise given the value that Howard, Paul, and Pete give us fellow horse players. Well, thank you very much, Brad. I appreciate that. I'd like to see Rebel Red a little bit closer in this, Paul. We'll see. I echo the sentiments on Spirit St. Louis. He's really good. I do want to mention something before we talk about Spirit St. Louis and then move on. Again, I'm a huge fan of time form. I'm using it more than buyers these days. I'm relying on time form more than buyers. And the time form numbers, guys, are on the furthest right. So let's talk about this for a second. Spirit St. Louis, who's going to be the favorite? Again, forget the 3-1. That's a ridiculous morning line. No disrespect. He's going to be 9-5, guys, I would say here. 126, 126, 125. That's better than anyone in this field. Rebel Red, in his last start, got 123. Now, before that, 117, 118 is what, 8 points slower? Guys, I've talked to my good friend Craig Mulkowski, and I'm going to put this on. I'm going to share this piece of paper with you guys. You can't really see it very well, but it's a chart that he sent me that equates one length to how many points on time form based on distance. Pretty cool information as far as I'm concerned. And I know it's hard to read, but in a 10 furlong race, guys, 1.3 points equates to approximately a length. Okay. So if you go off of the 123 versus the 126, that's what, 3 points. You're talking Rebel Red's got to make up 2 lengths on Spirit of St. Louis in theory. Now, that was his best race. If you go back to the 118, 117, that's like 8 points. He's got to make up like 4 lengths on Spirit of St. Louis. But Spirit of St. Louis, was running 123s before. So Rebel Red is slower by almost every measure, but that doesn't mean he's not going to win on Saturday. And Paul,
you need the other ones to move forward because he runs. Spirit of St. Louis, at least if nothing else, is reliable. He runs the same race every single time, basically.
Right.
Most of the time it's good enough. Every so often it's not, but he always seems to give that race. So you have to move forward. Most likely he's not going to regress in theory because he hasn't yet.
But and interesting enough, the buyers have him slower, Pete. The Spirit of St. Louis.
They do.
So,
yeah, they do.
We'll see. He's really good. I have nothing negative, Paul, against Spirit of St. Louis. I'm using him along with Rebel Red, and I'm mainly using those two. If redistricting wins, I'll have him, but that would not be good for me. I'm tossing everyone else out. There's decent speed on the outside. I guess some people might like will say what say the number 3, 10-1. It's Maker. It's possible, but he's gonna have to step up his game. I've never been a fan of Gigante. I think he wins in particular spots. And guys, I think this race is way too tough for him on Saturday. We'll see. The rails are all the way down. The inside might be the place to be. We've talked about that before, but usually that's the case earlier in the meet when they take the rails down, not later in the meet. I don't know. We'll have to see. Fun race, guys. Let's go on to the next race. The next race is the Fairgrounds Oaks. This is the 2 3-year-old races on dirt to end the card as usual. Fairground Oaks, you see our picks on the screen. Whoops, I need to fast forward here. Race 11. These major points for the Kentucky Oaks, $400,000 the purse, mile and 16th. 3-year-olds, field of 9. Big money line favorite, current Oaks favorite in the anti-post betting, I think 3-1, according to Churchill Downs. Good cheer, 4-5 in this spot. The number 7, Cox Sias. I've loved this horse all the way back since last year. We all like this horse. I'm going 7-9-3. Pete's going 7-3-2. Paul is also going 7-9-3. I don't think we need to talk about this race for 20 minutes, guys. Good cheer is just really, really damn good. Consistent. I suppose, Pete, you can make the argument she's not that fast. I mean, she's running mid 80s buyers. She hasn't had that wow effort yet, but she's winning these races so easily. You'd have to think there's more in the tank. I'm not sure we're going to see her wow effort Saturday. I think we might see that in 6 weeks at the Kentucky Oaks, but she's going to be really tough to beat here.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem sometimes with the figures is if they go slow in front of you, and if you look on the screen, she hasn't really been behind a fast pace yet. So she's basically just sitting off moderate paces and then blowing the field away without having to be used late. So that combination of factors doesn't generally lead to huge figures, but who gives a crap with this horse? She's just awesome.
Yeah, she's really good. And Paul, I don't know about your feeling. I looked at the breeding. I think she's going to be better going longer. I wouldn't consider, 8.5 panels exactly long distance, even by American standards on the dirt. I mean, I think mile and 1/8 is your sort of average. I think it's your sort of new age classic distance, right? And she hasn't even gone a mile and 1/8 yet. I know you liked her a lot with the Godolphin connections. I mean, there's literally zero negative to say. She's professional. She can take dirt. She doesn't have to be too far back. There is a decent amount of speed in this race, I think, and that's only going to help her.
Yeah, you got the long fairground stretch that she'll have. I agree with you on the distance. I would buy Medaglia d'Oro out of a Street Sense mare, and I know Michael Banahan is. I think I've heard him say that they can't write a race long enough for her. So I think that I believe that I agree. I don't know that she needs her A+ effort to win here. I think Mr. Cox will have a pretty good plan of attack to have that A+ effort come out on the first Friday in May. And honestly, if you're looking to beat her, you look through the field. I mean, I guess
don't.
Well, I mean, I guess, Pete, if you really want to take a flyer, you say, well, who knows how good Cherie DeVoe's Ahava is?
That's the only one. Yeah, that's the only one. She can get away, right?
She's an unknown quantity at this level, coming off the maiden win, and let's just say she's a superstar. But of the horses who are known quantities, I think that good cheers B+ effort will be plenty.
A little information on Ahava. Do you guys have any idea what Ahava means or translates to?
No.
I will tell you. It is Hebrew for love. And the reason why, there's 2 reasons why they've named her that. Number 1, first of all, she's a half to Vava. Can you imagine having Vava and Ahava next to each other in the barn? Sounds like a tongue twister. But guys, she's got a little heart, right at the top of her forehead, similar to a horse named Heart to Heart. You guys remember that nice turf horse?
Yeah.
So she's got a marking, Ahava, that looks like a heart. And that's part of the reason why they named her after the Hebrew word for love. There you go. She's got a lot of
Excellent.
speed. Cherie thinks she might be able to get the distance. I don't know. We'll see. There's other speed in here with Gowell's Delight, the number 2, who I chase. Her laugh, you would assume, is definitely going. Bless the Broken, by the way, will be scratched, but I don't think that really is much of a factor. She's going to run at Turfway Park. Secret Faith's got a lot of speed. Let's talk about Quick Kick and then move on to the big race, guys. Paul, my friend, you have Quick Kick also in second. I got to tell you guys, I chased her a lot last year, as you guys might remember. I liked her a little bit in the Bruce Juvenile Fillies. She's been goofy. She's been on the wrong lead. She was just too far back at Del Mar. The track didn't set up for her. Last time she was not great. Again, didn't run very well. She's training well. You've got to believe Amos has her cranked up. And remember how we talked about the speed figs, guys? This is fascinating to me. And people need to pay attention to this. Remember this for Saturday. Look at Quick Kick's buyers, mid 70s, right? Let's just say in general, mid 70s, okay, a little bouncing up and down. Good Cheer, let's just say mid 80s, even higher. But just for argument's sake, let's say there's a 10-point buyer difference. Can we agree that's about 10 points, right? Which is relatively significant, right? Well, when you look at time form, if you believe in time form's got Good Cheer, guys, a lot slower than buyers does. Look at these time forms. Okay, the 109. But then you see 102, 106, 102. You could say what, 105-ish average. You go to Quick Kick, guys. I mean, last year she ran, according to time form, just as fast as Good Cheer. Now, she's not done the last 2 starts, Pete and Paul. You can't argue that. But if Amos gets her ready and gets, can find her best, look, guys, I don't think she's impossible. And the one thing that I liked a little bit, Paul, about Quick Kick, not only is there a lot of speed in this race in theory, I think she's really going to appreciate the long stretch. She just seems like the kind of filly, Paul, that needs time to wind up. And I think this long stretch of fairgrounds might really be good for Quick Kick. I'm not predicting her to beat Good Cheer, but if it happens, I would not be shocked.
Yeah, and look at as great as Good Cheer looks, I believe the best 3-year-old filly in this class would have been Immersive. The horse won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies convincingly, and this horse ran a second to Immersive in the Alcibiades, ran a decent third to her in the Breeders' Cup. I really liked this horse in her second start at Saratoga. I know only a maiden race, but that was second start. This is second off the layoff. So, yeah, I think you could, of the horses who are, again, quote, known quantities, I certainly think she is the most likely upsetter.
It's funny. I'm the complete opposite. I don't like her at all. I don't. I know. It's fun. I hope she takes money because you guys like her. I saw Nick Feldman in the chat likes her. I hope she's the one that takes the money because I think she's one of your Oaks Fever, whatever you call it on the Oaks side. Oaks Fever. What are the initials? I don't know what you.
Oaks Fever syndrome. That'd be
Oaks Fever. OFS. Yeah, OFS. I like to see her cut back. I think she might be better.
You might be right about that, Pete. That's a good point. David Piers, I believe. I'm sorry, David, I'm mispronouncing your name. New person in the chat, guys. We love our new people. Why is Girl Math coming here and not running a Turfway? If you heard anything, thanks. As far as I know, she is running. Maybe they want to put her on the dirt. I have not heard details, David, on Girl Math, although I love the name, of course. But as a math teacher, I'm not sure, David. I wish I had more information for you on that. All right, guys. I think let's see. Well, Bittersweet said Quick Kick is trying harder while Good Cheer is out for a gallop. Look, I'm not like I said. I a 7-9 would be nice exactive, Paul, for you and I. I think we'd actually get a slight bit of value. I don't know, 8-6 to 1 something. That'd be fine with me. All right, guys. Let's talk about the big one now. Before we do that, before we talk about the Louisiana Derby, we have some very exciting news in terms of our power picks. If you are a subscriber, well, not if you're a subscriber, but if you're on our email list, you'll get more details. We have very meet-specific power picks coming up. We're going to have power picks for Keeneland only. Later in the year, we'll have power picks for only Saratoga and only Fall Keeneland. We're going to have individual power picks from Davy Lane for International. And we're going to package them all together, ladies and gentlemen, which, again, information will be out on X and especially on through email So let me just pick up my banner, guys, really quick. Not the Power Pick banner, but if you want to get on our email list, below on the video player, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com, one word, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com, or you can simply DM me on X if you'd like to be part of our email list, because we're going to be offering different Power Picks packages. We're very exciting. The potential, guys, for free. Are we ready for this? Free Oaks and Derby package if you buy our larger package, which we did for the Breeders' Cup last year. It was, 30 pages, I think, for the Breeders' Cup. It was amazing. So anyway, please look into supporting the podcast by looking into some new Power Picks that will be coming up in the very near future. How do you find out about that? People have information on the website. I obviously should say
we'll
that as
have
well.
all the details. Yeah, all the details will be on the site. We're still finalizing some of the details ourselves.
Yes.
But we'll let everyone know on X or on the shows, obviously, and in the email, like Howard said. But there'll be a page or pages specifically related to this. So all the details will be there. You don't have to worry about it right now. But sign up for the emails, because a lot of information goes out via email. So sign up. It doesn't, there's not a lot of them. There's maybe one a week. So you're not going to get inundated with a bunch of emails.
Right. Let's talk about 10 minutes, guys, Louisiana Derby. And then, Paul, if you have a short rant, we'll take that, and then we'll go on and end the show. Louisiana Derby, guys, race 12, last race of the day. This is how you get paid. $1 million, mile 3/16 for the 3-year-olds. I got to say, guys, this field is not nearly as inspiring as we've seen in the past. I just don't think the Louisiana trail has been overly impressive. Plus, obviously, Magnitude got hurt and is not in here, and he ran a hole in the wind last time. But this is a very interesting field. The money line favorite is the number 1, John Hancock, from the inside for Cox, who also has the number 9 instant replay. Wow, look at the bottom of the screen. Oh my, are we interested in what is going on here? So Cox has got 2. John Hancock is undefeated. There's been buzz. I have to give a little shout out to Matt Bernier, guys, who asked me 6 weeks ago, is John Hancock in the Derby future field? This was after he had just won his first race. So Matt Bernier's been a fan of John Hancock. He is really fast. He's going to go to the lead. There is other speed in here, 7-2 morning line. I'm going 9-2-10. Pete's going 9-1-10. Paul's going 1-9-6. Paul, you're going to go with one of the Coxes. Pete, you and I are thinking very much alike here, which is crazy in this race because it's pretty wide open.
Yeah, I'm surprised, actually. I'm surprised the three of us are as close as we were. I thought this one,
I would agree,
you could have gone a million different ways in this race.
Paul, this race is huge for obvious reasons, but if John Hancock gets into the Derby, the Bob Baffert horses better pay attention, because this horse is fast and good. Is he good enough on Saturday? Can he get the distance?
I think he might be good enough on Saturday. I don't know that he's going to be good enough on the first Saturday in May, although certainly don't want to root against our friend Matt. I like you guys, I'm sure, spent a good amount of time on this race, and went back and watched that Risen Star. We have already touched on the Risen Star. Went back and watched that. I know there's some love for Chunk of Gold in the chat. I don't know. I think this Chunk of Gold is one of those horses who just kind of clunks up and gets a piece of it, and people are going to think is a great bet in the Derby at 1.25 miles, and he's going to close from 12th to 8th. So
maybe he should be named Clunk of Gold, Paul.
Yeah, well, that would be good. Asmussen loves Tiz-tastic. I was all over Tiz-tastic in the Rebel. I'm not going back to the well on that one. Lucas, he got a horse in last weekend. This horse lost a getaway car, who you mentioned earlier in the show, Howard. Thought that horse ran poorly in the Virginia Derby. Built was the horse chasing Magnitude, and really gave it up in the stretch. But again, I'm not so sure about that race yet. Magnitude might just have been a total freak, and once Built knew he couldn't get by. So there's a lot of reasons not to play the other horses. I like the 9, as you guys, by Maximum Security, but this one was beaten in the stretch last time. I know, because I needed Owen Almighty. in the sequence, and just kind of dug back in. And for a horse stretching out, dug back in, and you don't see it on the paper, but this horse had a close to win this race in the last 16th. Howard will show us now. John Hancock is on the inside, gets passed on the outside by Owen Almighty, and you would think Owen Almighty came back and ran well, obviously, last weekend. And John Hancock, when gets looked into the eye, right about here, says, "No, thank you. I am going to sign on to a victory."
Whoa.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
So anyway, yeah, I don't know about the price. Probably going to be the favorite. I think this is one of those races, Howard, where the win price might not be that reflective of the price in the pick 5, because there's a lot of ways you can go.
I'm not a bounce guy, but I want to bring what Nick Feldman said, who feels like Hancock is a huge bounce horse, big maiden win, huge last out. That's a lot early to ask for that horse. Pete, was Hancock fighting back? I mean, he fought back and won. I feel a little bit that was more Owen Almighty doesn't want the distance rather than Hancock fighting back. I suppose it's apples and oranges. You could, who cares, I guess, which one it is. I just think there's other speed in here. He's got to go another eighth of a mile against much better horses. I just, at a low price, can he win? Of course he can. I respect Paul's pick. This is just the kind of horse I don't want in the spot. I just don't want him.
Yeah, I could see that, and I think that's my biggest fear, because Yinzer's going, and there's other speed, but I think Yinzer is fast and is going. I guess, Paul, for you, as someone who's picking John Hancock, do you expect the lead, or do you expect Pratt to say, you know what, Yinzer, if you want to go, I'll sort of sit the pocket and then see if we can get this horse to, I know we always hate when they're rating, quote unquote, rating a speed horse, but can you sit in second and then try and pass instead of getting into a speed duel? That's the only way, I think, because that was my concern with this horse, because I had Hancock in the Sam F. Davis, and I don't think the bounce thing applies as much, Nick, because it's not like he had like some super big jump in Bayer. He just has sort of a natural progression to me, and maybe he's just good and this is what he is. And if he keeps doing that incremental progression, I don't look at that as like, oh, he shot this big race out of nowhere. But I worry about Yinzer. Yinzer's fast and Yinzer's going, and there's a couple other speed horses, but I think at the least, look at those time form figures. I mean, he's going, and he's going to be he's got no other method, I don't think. So I don't know if Pratt says, screw it, I'm not getting into a duel with this horse. I'm going to try and sit second.
Pete, I think Hancock's faster.
I mean, he could be faster.
Pratt
could be, but
this ain't Giroux, right, Paul? I mean, Pratt's got to go. Now, to Pete's point, I think you bring a good point. I mean, if Yinzer is like hellbent, Pratt's not going to get caught up in a 45 and a 21 and 4 and 45 because he's the best jockey in the country, perhaps. But Paul, I think Jan Hancock's only way to win, in my opinion, at least that's what we've seen, is wire to wire. We haven't seen him be able to rate, and even at a longer distance, that would be harder to rate and win in theory. But maybe he's just that good. We don't know.
Yeah, I think especially with the post, being on the rail and the opportunity to save ground, I guess, Pete, I could see him coming around right just inside of Yinzer, but I don't know that Pratt's going to have to beat the hell out of him to get to the lead from the rail.
See, I don't know. I'm not sure. And Furio, too. Furio's got no other way but to go. And Furio
I've heard they might be trying to rate him, Pete, which is crazy. That's been sort of the talk by Joe Sharp. Yeah, but I mean, but Vasimo's not slow. You think D. Wayne's going to have this horse that far off? They're just, if it's not Yinzer, it's like 2 or 3 others, right, Pete? It just feels like
I just feel like Yinzer's the horse
here. But then Magnitude got away with, who knows? We say this every race.
Magnitude got away with, Magnitude got away, but that was a freak show. So, I mean, my thought is more just on paper, I think Yinzer has no other way. And does that compromise John Hancock? Because John Hancock is speed and is on the rail. So it lends to the fact that John Hancock's going to go. does that maybe compromise them both a little bit? And if you like
Yep.
the horse that we like, Howard, we hope that happens for once. We hope what happens on the
We
page
do.
actually happens on the track for once.
I'm playing this race as a pace meltdown, and I could be wrong, but very quickly with the time form U.S. numbers, guys. I'm just going to scroll very quickly. Hancock out of 114 last time. Chunk of Gold, 108 his best. You see Tistastic, 105, 107. Yinzer's too slow except for that last race. Caldera did get a 112 last time, but I don't like the getaway car race at all. Built, 105, a little bit slow. Vassimo slow until the last race, which was pretty good. Furio ran big last time, but the others don't fit. Look at instant replay. Very slow until the last race when got a 110, which absolutely fits in this race. And Hypnus, guys, is flat out slow right now, but not by a lot. So this is really a race to me that is where pace is going to make a huge difference. And we're going instant replay, Pete. I got to tell you, I like a lot what I saw last time. And what I liked was not only the fact that, of course, he won by 5, but he was so different than he'd been earlier. Last year, he wanted to be up close. He was a little bit unsettled. The minute they broke last time in that allowance race, Pete, I'm sure you watched the replay. If you didn't,
Yeah.
I'll let everyone know. It was very clear they were trying to rate this horse like from the start. He rated kindly, and he just blew by the field. Now, it was a much weaker field. There wasn't a lot of resistance, but the time came back fast. Maybe Cox has this one ready. I prefer Drew with a closer, Pete, than a speed horse on the dirt because I've been pretty critical of him lately with some of his rides, but those have mainly been speed horses. I think he takes back, makes a run. If he can improve again, he's got a huge shot here. Huge shot to me.
Yeah, and I wonder too if distance. So there's a few things I liked. I really liked that race. I thought the replay looked great too. Yeah, regardless of the field, he beat the field the way he should if he's a contender for anything of consequence. But maybe he's just one who's gotten better and he's coming back at 3 a little bit of a different horse. Maybe they were, like 2 back. Maybe they did have that horse a little closer to the pace than probably they should have. He's maybe more of a closer and needs to sit off, and that was his downfall in that race against Sandman. But the way I looked at it was, if this horse is 6-1, what if he's just good now? And if he's good and he's this kind of good, and it's under Brad Cox, so it's not like that would be surprising, and he did it at this track. If he's this good and we're getting him at 6-1, which maybe he won't be, obviously, but he's not going to be the favorite. He's probably not going to be the second choice, most likely. I think this is when you catch him. And then if all of a sudden, man, this horse is good. I mean, he's out of Maximum Security, who we know distance is no issue for. He's out of a Medaglia d'Oro mare, who, again, distance shouldn't be a problem. I think he should relish a little bit more distance. There's just so much that I like about this horse. And no Lasix. But the thing that I don't mind is Cox. He's one of those trainers. Thanks for asking that, Pepe, because I had that as a note. Cox is one of those trainers that taking Lasix off his horses doesn't necessarily change. His percentages are pretty much the same in graded stakes, whether they're on Lasix or off. So he's one of those trainers that doesn't have that as a disadvantage. Now, that's every horse is going to be their own thing, but just from a trainer standpoint, that's not something I worry about as much with Brad Cox.
Paul already touched on Chuck and Gold, who I have in second only because he ran really well, and I see no reason. Chunk of Gold guy's been training at Turfway. Why not go in the Jeff Ruby Stakes? So the fact that they send him back here to me tells me that he wants the dirt, and so I like that a lot for Chunk of Gold. A lot of Hypnus conversation, guys. This Rebel replay is worth watching. I'll just show it very quickly into the stretch. Hypnus won first out, which McPeak doesn't do much, the number 10 on Saturday. He's the 4 here, guys, and he had some legitimate trouble to me. It was watch the 4 in the stretch here. This is the Sandman race that has been talked about a lot. He's on the inside. He did save ground, guys, but at a crucial, this is Hypnus the 4. At a crucial moment, you see he's got run. Hernandez got a pretty good hold. He does find room, but you're going to see right about here, he's trying to find room, and oh boy, he just can't find it. It even gets worse. He still's on a hold. There's just nowhere to go, guys. There's nowhere to go. And Was this one of the gallop out horses,
This is
guys?
one.
Because
This is one that he
well,
galloped out pretty nicely.
yeah, here's Sandman, who a lot of people like. Okay, let's just freeze it here. Here's the difference, right? I'd say 5 lengths, maybe 4 lengths here at the wire. And without asking, and again, I like the angle. It's worked well. Here he is without asking. Now he's only, what, 2 lengths back. He's going to be, what, maybe 1 length back here coming up, or a length and a half. Guys, if the pace falls apart, I think Hypnus is very interesting, the number 10. Pete, you agree. You've got him third. Paul, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I was just sort of taking a shot, Paul. I just thought maybe this is the horse and you can get a price. And if that last one was more Trip Trouble, and he's a horse that I think people liked a little bit going into that last one as well, and it just didn't materialize, I'm giving him one more shot because I think you have questions about all the other ones. Only one quick stat, though, because this was a bad one. McPeak, 0 for 23 wins, 5 for 23 in the money only in graded stakes dirt races at fairgrounds. So not a lovely stat there.
It isn't. Pete, you thought this was the toughest race of the sequence, correct?
I thought this was I thought this was the toughest in the sense that I think you could make you could poke holes in a lot of horses and you can make logical cases for a lot of them. So I thought from that perspective, you can go a bunch of different ways.
Paul, one last question about the Louisiana Derby, then we'll show our best bets. Quick 30-second rant, will be finished. Will any horses coming out of Louisiana Derby finish in the top 5 of the Kentucky Derby?
No.
Pete?
Yes.
I'm going to say no also. This is a weak Louisiana Derby, I feel. Pete, let's go to our best
Derby
bets.
field, so I think we could sneak one in if instant
Could
replay
be.
looks good. But I'm a sucker for the fairgrounds road always every year, and it disappoints me. So
Chunk of Gold will fly for 5th in the Kentucky Derby.
Well, yeah, that's true. 5th, yes.
Pete, your best bet, you're going to race 10. You're going to play a pick 3, 5, 6 with 7 with 9. Very cheap. That's only obviously $2 for $1. And even though you have some favorites, you got the 9. If instant replay wins and people play this bet, you are really going to get paid. I like the idea, Pete.
Yeah, and it's not anything that's going to pay huge, but you got to have to. That's cheap. It's small enough where you can play at a pretty big denomination. And yeah, if instant replay, we can get like 5-1. Then I think it'll pay decent enough.
Paul, your bet warmed the coddles of my heart. I'll tell you what, we all rub off on each other, a little bit in one way or another. Paul's going with the reverse tri-key, my friend. In race 8, he's going to key the 13. That is the Brazilian K McPeak horse. You're going to go 1-3 with 13 with all, and 1-3 with all with 13. I'm sorry, refresh my on the name, Paul. 13.
Champagne Rose.
He's keying Champagne Rose at 2nd and 3rd in the Muniz. I like the idea, Paul.
Yeah, let's hope I can get the one of the 3. That's that Fun with Flags and Way to Be Marie. I mean, you could probably make a case for other horses. I'll probably throw the 4 in since both of you guys like the 4 on top. In fact, I'm going to write that on my screen right now.
Yep, it's not the Muniz. That's my fault. That's the Tom Benson. I had the wrong race. Go ahead.
And, I've learned the hard way with these, Howard. I know you probably have too. You do have to make at least a win bet on the 13 for insanity insurance, we call it. Because I've been institutionalized a few times from having a 13-1 shot win and coming up with Lugats, Pete, as our Italian friend.
Absolutely.
Hey, Paul, would you play something? Just to ask the question. Would you play something like 13, 1-3-4, 1-3-4, just to have a little triple to hit the triple?
Probably.
It's always I always question doing, because when you're going all, it gets pricey.
Yeah, it's got to be, but you got to play the win bet just in,
you got to do at least the win bet. Yeah,
horses into double digits.
Yeah.
The reason I don't do that, Pete, just for people that are watching and listening, what you suggested is because the win bet's going to pay so much. I don't need to play the try with her on top.
Yeah.
And it's a wide open race and it's hard to hit the try. So if you play I don't know if you're suggesting play the try with her on top also in addition to the win, but I would never do it instead of the win for the reason.
No, I was just more of asking the question in general. Yeah.
I'm going to go race 10. Look at Paul. I'm going to go to pick 3 here. Similar to Pete, actually, but just a little more spready. I'm going 6-7 with 7 with 1, 2, 7, 9, 10. The 5 horses, that would be, only $10 for $1. I'm also going to play the 9 instant replay as a win bet in race 12 and a reverse tri-key with instant replay. What a fun day at the fairgrounds on Saturday. We're very excited. Paul, I know you got a very quick 30-second rant. I'm not going to put up the graphic. What say you, sir?
Yeah, I just want to say we're used to, we talk about when we have tragedy in our sport with, we've seen the horses go down at Saratoga right in the shadow of the wire. And, thank God we don't see jockeys killed with any regularity. And Pete, I know you're a harness guy from way back. There was a harness driver who got killed as a result of an accident yesterday at the Meadows. Horrific pileup. I didn't see it. I don't want to see it. Obviously, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, there's all sorts of equipment, wheels flying around. And so sincere condolences to the family of Hunter Myers, a 27-year-old who I think had already won like 2,500 races or something like that.
Yeah.
And, just to see that is just gruesome. It's bad enough to see what we've seen, as I said, with horses going down in front of us. But here's a young guy with his life in front of him. So just condolences to his family.
Yes, well said. Paul. Condolences to the Hunter Myers family. He was an up-and-coming driver, guys. Not that his ability matters at all in this situation, but he was sort of an up-and-coming. I think it was, in his late 20s. It's just makes you care about life even more so and puts things in perspective. But we really appreciate everyone joining us tonight. Again, pay attention to our website, to X, and for you and those of you that are part of our email for very exciting information early next week about some exciting power pick opportunities as we are expanding our horizons in the power pick tip sheet world. They've been popular. They're going to continue to be inexpensive and profitable. For my good friend Pete Visco and Paul Howard, and this has been your host, Howard Kravitz. It's been episode 400 of Picks and Ponies. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very simple. Crush your bets this Saturday at the fairgrounds for the Louisiana Derby. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.